Welcome back to the Goheen Cycles YouTube channel. I'm Jeremy Goheen. This is episode number 9 of the VTX web build. In this episode, we start putting this front end back together, get the trees put together. I also show you a quick little tip. If you guys watched my previous video on doing neck bearing jobs, we used to take a pipe and beat the living daylights out of the bottom race and bearing set to get it down on top of the neck. I actually throw up my shop press, which is 300 times easier. It's quicker, and you have less chance of it actually wobbling and moving one way or another and going in crooked. It's extremely easy, so I'm going to show you that here in just a few seconds. And then we go ahead and start putting the front end together. We get the bearings adapter installed so we can start working on bars this week, and we get the risers put on. Then we go over to the left-hand side of the bike, and we get the horn relocator kit installed. This is the first prototype for the kit. I've been building these kits for years, but this is the first mass manufactured kit that I have put together. This kit is available right now as a pre-order on my website for the VTX 1300 all models, R, S, C, doesn't matter what you got. Any of the 1300s that'll work. It actually replaces your bracket for the choke stay. You remove it, you install my bracket, and it comes with an air horn. And then you have the option of also getting a stock Harley-Davidson style cover, or you don't have to get the cover if you want to get, I'm leaving the options open, so if you want to buy a custom cover and you don't want to run this factory looking cover here, you have the option of just getting the air horn and the bracket and then the wiring harness extension that you need to plug it into your factory wiring. So without further ado, let's get started. First off, let's go ahead and get the front end put together, and I'll show you how I got the bearings pressed in. Now that you've seen how the front end all slid together, it's very similar to another video we've had, so I didn't really go into a lot of detail. If you guys have noticed, there's a couple of my videos in this series that have been that way. If it's something I already have on the channel, didn't really feel like I wanted to explain it again. I also put the forks together off camera. I didn't really feel like, again, that was something that you guys needed to see, considering, I don't know, just a few months ago I had a fork rebuild video that I released. So I didn't really film that. They'll get slid up in here this evening, and then we're going to start getting the front end put back together. Now let me explain the bearings adapter to you. I'll show it to you in a video how it mounts. I've had a couple questions about that adapter over the years. I used to run one before I switched my bars to a custom set of bars. The options when you're actually looking for something for a metric are very tiny. And if you run this adapter, you can run any set of Harley risers and throw yourself a set of Harley bars that basically fit almost any soft tail will fit on there, and you're good to go. So let's go ahead and I'll show you how the adapter goes together. We'll get it bolted on the tree. All right, so the last part of this front end that we're going to do in this episode before we actually slide the forks up into the triple trees and get the bars mounted is I want to explain, because I've had a lot of questions over the years about the Barron's Harley adapter. This is the Barron's metric to Harley adapter. As you can see here, the way that it actually goes onto your bars, this is where your factory mounting holes are from your factory risers. And if you go to buy a set of Harley bars, the knurled sections most of the time will not line up with your metric bars. So to combat that, we use a set of Harley risers and a Barron's adapter. What happens is this will mount, sit on top of the triple tree, and then your bolts that bolt your risers on, in this case we had an S so they didn't have bolts, I had to get some, but these bolts will mount like this up through the triple tree. And then to mount your risers, you have these bolts that slide through here, they poke up through the bottom, and then depending on the style of riser you have, these in particular will slide on like this, like that. And what will happen is there's a little place on these risers in particular, there's a place down in here where you'll put the nut. The best thing to do though, as you put these bolts in, I'll take them out, you need to put just a dab of Loctite on them so they don't go anywhere. Now they're not going to back out because they are up against the triple tree, but you also don't want them coming loose. So I'll go ahead and put a dab of Loctite on them now. I'll pull one of these out at a time. Dab of Loctite. These particular risers, like I said, the nut slides down inside of the riser, which is a pain in the butt to get in. Dab of Loctite. All right, those are tight. So let's go ahead and get them mounted onto the triple trees. All right, so the last part of this mount is pretty easy. We're going to use this Barron's adapter with these set of Harley risers, and it's actually going to bolt right on top of here. You can see this is cut out here. It's to go around your the neck nut. What you're going to want to do, take the first bolt. We're going to put a dab of Loctite on it. Slide it up through. And then I'll take the second one, same thing, a little bit of Loctite. In this case, I personally think the chrome adapter, chrome risers on the black, the all blacked out front end is really going to set this off when that chrome headlight's sitting in here. All right, now that the riser adapter and the Barron's riser adapter and the risers are installed on the upper part of the triple tree, let's go ahead and get this horn relocator bracket installed. Make sure you check out, there's a link down on the bottom. That's the link to get to my site for the pre-order. Like I said, I'm really shooting for sometime the first of the year, maybe a little sooner as I get kits ready. The first people that pre-order, the first ones that are going to get it. I'm not going to hold them back and wait for the onslaught of all of them to come in and for me to get all of them done, because again, this is another part that I make right here in my garage, made right here in Ohio. So it's nothing I farm out to people and have them make. It's all done right here. I weld them all by hand. A friend of mine gets them and powder coats them, and we put the kits together. So here's how the kit gets installed. When the kit is actually installed, I'm going to do a very detailed video on how you install it, where things plug in. This is kind of like a general overview just to kind of show you guys the bracket, how the horn mounts on there and where it mounts on the VTX 1300, and show you what it kind of looks like on the bike. So this is a very easy install, and to install this horn relocator bracket, basically you're going to replace this cable choke stay. So to replace this, has a plastic nut on the back side of the choke you're going to unscrew. You'll turn the choke 90 degrees, pick it up outside of the holder. Didn't have it all the way turned. It'll come out. Push it off to the side. You're not going to need it for a second. Back here, there are two 10mm bolts. You're going to pull both of those out. There's one. And the hardest part is getting your hand into them, because it's not in a great place to get to. But you're going to want to save these bolts because you're going to need to reuse them. This bracket's going to be replaced. Now we have our horn relocation kit with our new bracket. We're going to do the opposite of what we just did. We're going to slide this in here, and it's going to mount right back into the factory location with the same bolts you just took out. Okay, use your other one. It's a little easier if you use a gear wrench, but a 10mm wrench, get back in here, get these tight. And then you'll take your choke, same thing, you'll slide it back down in the choke stay. What you're going to do is it's going to go down here so far, you're going to turn it 90 degrees. And it's a little harder because there's a little bit of powder, which makes that a little smaller. But then you'll just turn this jam nut to the point where it stops. You still have full use of your choke, and got your aftermarket horn cover on here. So that's that. Now that you have the horn installed, when the kits are released, they're going to come with a wiring harness extension. That extension is going to plug, one part of it's going to plug into your horn, air horn that's up underneath this cover. Just run the wires up. You want to keep them away from the motor. Use the provided small zip tie. Zip tie it to the bottom side of this bracket. Bring the wiring up across and underneath the backbone of the frame, and just plug it into your wires that where your horn was plugged in. Alright, so that wraps it up. That's episode number 9 of the VTX web build. We're getting there. A few more episodes. Right now all the tins are out at paint. Since they're all out at paint, right after that everything's going to get lettered. We have some custom lettering that's going to go on the tank, some pinstriping and things like that. That stuff all needs to be done, but we're getting close, and we're actually starting to get the part where stuff like this is starting to come together. Frankly, so far as I'm concerned, you guys heard me say it just a few minutes ago when I was talking about installing the risers, but the chrome against the black is a complete game changer. You don't have that pop metal look anymore, and it really makes the front end of the bike pop. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how this stuff goes together. Next week we're going to start working on hand controls, getting the bars wired, rebuilding the master cylinder, getting the clutch perch installed, then we'll get the bars put on the bike. We'll also probably move over, get the rear wheel installed, get that stuff moving. We have one of Glenn's down under brackets we're going to get installed, and so we're going to kind of see some more of the upper part of that wheel when it's all said and done. So that wraps it up, episode number 9. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and if you have any questions about the build, anything that's going on with the build, if you have a question, especially about that horn relocator bracket, this is really the first time it's been on video that people have seen it. Like I said, I've built it for a lot of guys here locally, but just something I wanted to throw together as a kit. I have a few products that I'm wanting to pull out into this product line that I'm working on, and this just happens to be one of them. So check it out. Got questions, hit me up, and I'll see you guys next week.